Hey everybody, just bear with me a moment. I'm getting everything set up here. Just take me a moment here. I got to get a couple different things going here. All right. So, it's Wednesday, 4 o'clock. Here I am. So, welcome to everybody. I know people will be jumping on shortly. Um, Before I get into today's topic, just want to kind of have a little chit chat about some things that are going on. Um, I've had a pretty good week actually, and I'm excited. I've got some new stuff coming out. Just about done with the draft. Well, the draft's done. In final editing on a new book I'm doing for those that go into family court. Now, it's not from like most books that you'll see on that where they're talking about the legal perspective of it. I do talk a little bit about the law, but I'm not a lawyer. So I only talk about what I can talk about, which is my experience in there and the experience of having gone in as a support person for other guys and that kind of thing. So I'm hoping that that book will come out. My target is mid-July. It's probably going to be late July. I'm self-publishing it. I'll let you know when that is ready to go. But I was pretty excited. I got it all wrapped up as far as the writing part of it this week. So pretty excited about that. Other than that, it's like I said, it's been a good week. I was feeling a little down last week. For those of you that watch me every week, I was had a rough week last week, but it got better as the week went on, and I did something that I like to do from time to time, which is I disconnected this past weekend from the internet, and I'm going to be doing that again in a couple of weeks. So the first week in July, I take that as a vacation week for both from my business, and I'll be taking it from this. I'll probably will have some videos, scheduled to go, so they'll go up. But what I do, and this is something I talk about in my fitness business with people, is it's really good once in a while to just take yourself out of the world, right? So what I do is for 1 week, and it'll be the week of July 4th, starting that Friday night, the Friday night before. I think the 4th is a Tuesday or a Wednesday this year, but whatever. That's it. I do my final emails. I check my final whatevers. And then my phone gets left by my bed table. If I go somewhere, I take it with me, but it's shut off. So I don't even have it on. I just have it there for emergencies. And I completely disconnect. The only thing I do, because I do own a business, a couple of them, is I do check my emails first thing in the morning, see if there's anything that I need to address. But 99 out of 100 times when I've done this, I haven't had to worry about anything. And what it does, it really lets me refresh because, what do most people do? They get up in the morning, they reach for their phone, right? Before they do anything else, before they even have their first cup of coffee, they're checking that phone. And that's not good for us, right? Mentally, even physically. So I take that week and I just go enjoy life. I live in a beach town. I will be at the beach quite a bit, not for an hour or two like I normally do, but for hours. And got some day trips planned, that kind of stuff. So a little golf, a little that. It's a disconnect week. It's a chance for me to refresh. So that week, I won't be doing a live or a podcast because I'm just going to disappear for a week. I just kind of thought I would relay that to people and really encourage you to look for those opportunities. Like I said, I did it this past weekend because I just needed to chill. It was Father's Day weekend. I did put a couple of videos timed to go up, scheduled them. And other than that, I peeked at my phone very little. Went out and enjoyed. I played a round of golf. Went out and had some good food. Hung out with some friends and just enjoyed life for a little bit. Got myself back to where I needed to be, and I'm looking forward to it. But that's that. So what I want to talk about today is something that I've been, kind of toying with a little bit, and that is, what do you think? Is marriage as an institution done? And I really want you to comment and let me know what you think. And I'll be interested. I'm actually going to go back later on and go through the comments and track them because I want to get an idea. I see some people jumping on. So Eric, marriage is dead. As a man, I take on so much risk just to have a marriage license. Not worth it. I hear you, bro. Spanish boy, marriage is dead. I have a sneaking suspicion the majority of things we're going to see that. Over on YouTube, Ted Logan, it's in its current iteration. As long as, pretty much the same thing. Thank you, Max. Max said he likes my content. So I really want to kind of get your take on it, and I'm hoping some of the ladies will jump in on this because, one of the things that I find interesting is I'll put up a video, and I like to tweak things a little bit, tweak some people, have a little fun with it. But one of the common comments I will get both on YouTube, Instagram, all of my accounts, I'm on Twitter, all of them. One of the most common I get when I talk about marriage and how men need to walk away or should think about walking away, inevitably I'll get a woman on there going, well, we're already walking away, or we're walking away too. And they're right. They are. Women are walking away just as much as men are. And we need to realize that all of us do, men and women, because my personal opinion, just to give mine, is I do think marriage is pretty much done and buried. I really do. I think that that's a sad thing, too. I actually don't think it's a good thing for society. A lot of people think that I'm anti-marriage. They think I'm anti-relationship because of the content that I put up. And I freely admit that I can understand why you would think that way. The thing is, though, I actually believe in marriage. Call me a romantic, call me whatever you want, hypocrite if you want, because I've had people say that to me. But I do believe men and women are better off married. And I'll add this caveat. Whatever you think about gay or lesbian couples, they're better off married too. I'm sorry. I agree with that. I think that, now I'm talking as a philosophy. I'm not talking about the legal side of it, all right? I do think we as a society are better off with couples of whatever form you want being together, okay? The problem is there's that side of it, right? The moral, the societal, all of that. There's positives there, but then there's the legal side of it. And I can't in good conscience tell anyone at this point to get married. And my content is geared towards men. My content is geared towards educating men about the realities of relationships, marriage, society, how it views them, all that different stuff. And from that standpoint, my advice to men right now is don't get married. It's too much of a risk, as some people have said. I got kind of going through some of the, Spanish boy said, marriage is dead. Florin, 82001, in Europe, a man will split at divorce only the things they bought together during the marriage. Flora, where are you? I always like to ask people, where are you from, too? If you don't mind sharing, guys, let me know where you're from, because it's something I find fascinating. Getting married here is not a good idea. Yeah, see, that's my take on it, too, right now. How else do you guarantee a relationship commitment? Timothy. Well, Timothy, I want to throw it back to you. How do you think marriage guarantees a commitment? I think it's just the opposite. I don't think it provides any guarantee whatsoever anymore. It used to. That's a fair statement. But I think that day is done. The amount of cheating that goes on, and let's be clear, it's both men and women, okay? Yes, Ted, I agree with it. Ted over on YouTube is saying the state and central authority have become so overbearing. You're right. That is a big part of it. It's become a cash cow for the government and for the lawyers. Marriage has. Well, divorce has. And marriage, for that matter. Jack, so you're saying poly couples are inherently immoral? Huh? Where did I say that? I didn't say that. Don't put words in my mouth. Here's my viewpoint. All right, I'm a libertarian. When it comes to that stuff, my viewpoint on anything is if you are not hurting someone else and you're not breaking any laws, do whatever you want, right? I mean, if you want to be in a poly relationship, go for it. I don't care. If you are gay, lesbian, I don't care. I don't care. What I do care about is you stop shoving it in my face. That's one thing I will say. But if poly couples work for you, go for it. I don't care. The thing is, though, that good, I'm just kind of reading through the messages too. Michael said marriage only works with compromise and most women won't. That's where we're at right now. I agree wholeheartedly with that. That's been lost, and lost for quite some time and for the foreseeable future. I totally agree with you on that. Bucharest, Romania. You're my first Romanian, I think, although I think you've been on before. But anyway, thank you, Florin. It's nice to meet you. Mr. Bubbles, love that name, 7211. Hey, remember Mr. Bubble? I'm old. I'll be 60 in a couple of weeks. There was a thing called Mr. Bubble. You made bubbles in your bath. I know, stupid stuff I bring up. Prenup or union contract. Prenups are a good thing and a bad thing. My friend David, who is Dad's Law School on TikTok, YouTube, and I'm not sure if he's on Instagram or not. David did a bunch of videos and talked about prenups, I know, and go check him out if you want to see some stuff on that. Prenups are not ironclad, guys, and the reason most of the time they're not is not because of the way they're written. It's because the two parties, you're supposed to keep your assets separate, and then you go buy a house and everybody contributes money, and boom, marital asset. At that point, your prenup is useless. Forgotten Senior from Canada, married 48 years. Wow, good for you. See, that makes me feel good. That makes me feel good. Slaying Mommy, I don't blame any man for not wanting to get married in the U.S. I worry about my son in the future. You should. Another good comment right behind that. Not only compromise, but they throw in the towel way too early. Easy, see, without remembering marriage's work. Now, here's an interesting point I want to make on that, because I like that comment. And I'll address it to you, Slaying Mommy, but I mean it in general to everyone is, do you think it's both men and women that aren't willing to put the work in at this point? As I am starting to believe that. I really am. I think it's more women, in my personal opinion. I think it's more, though, that we're seeing more men are just looking to walk away at this point. I do think there's something to that, because we've become a disposable society. It was funny. I was having a conversation with someone about refrigerators not too long ago, because I'm thinking about getting a new fridge. The one I have is probably 10 years old. When I bought this house, it was part of the house. I hate it. It's too small, and I'm a tall guy trying to get to the bottom shelf. I got to literally get on my knees. But we were talking about, a friend of mine who happens to be a property manager. So he's got properties all over the place. He said the newer fridges, even versus the one 10 years ago, they're throwaways at this point. And, the ones 10 years ago were not as good as the ones 40 years ago, which is interesting because when I moved to where I am now, I'm originally from New York, I'm in North Carolina now. When I moved, I had a refrigerator that was from the 1970s, early 70s, that I gave to my daughter and son-in-law. They're still using it. That refrigerator is 50 years old, and it keeps things ice cold still. It's his beer fridge. But it's just interesting. There's one that's 50 years. The one I have now, I mean, it's doing fine, but it'll probably crap out. But my point with all that is, I think materialistically we've become a throwaway society, but I think that's now translating into other areas, including marriage. So let me know what you think on that. The misogyny of this live is something else, Jack. Okay, Jack, why? What's misogynistic about talking about marriage? Just curious. Marty P from Carrickfergus, if I'm saying that right, North Ireland. I want to do an Irish accent, but I'm horrible at it, so I won't. RP John, my buddy. I see you every week. Thanks for coming back. Young men are seeing older men get wrecked by divorce and a few other things. Yep. Actually, I think that's really my job, right, as an older person, is to educate you guys. That's what I do. You take from it what you will. Daniel in Switzerland. Man, Switzerland, Romania. I'm loving this. Ireland. Mental sanity, you can't put a price on. ATX. Pete, that fridge is a hydro user. Hydro? Like hydrocodone? That's what being a trainer and medical stuff, that's where I went to. All right, so Slaying Mommy answered my question. More women, we all know we're more inclined. Yes, that is true. You're more inclined, but I also think that men don't put as much effort in. Marty, thank you for the heart and the weights. Mr. Bubbles, South Africa. I actually had one of my people that I train was in, I think it was Johannesburg. This a couple months ago. So I train online, and she was training, and she was at a hotel, and behind her was the most beautiful mountain range. Just she was on a balcony in her hotel. The mountain range was behind her. It was amazing to look at. Amazing. Just absolutely amazing. Just a quick side note there. Ted, I see your comments too. Yes, they're all good points. You know, Cape Town. Okay, maybe it was Cape Town. She was all over the place there. And then she got injured out on call it a safari. They were out looking at wild animals, and she ended up getting hurt. She tripped and fell and hurt her shoulder pretty bad. Okay, that's why I have you, Mr. Bubbles. No mountains in Joburg, so she was probably in Cape Town. She was all over. She was there for like 2-3 weeks. Beautiful, beautiful what I saw, and some of her pictures. But again, what I want to know is from today is if you're joining me, let me know your thoughts. Is marriage finished? Because statistically, it's headed that way, right? So before I came on, I was looking up some statistics, and I'm just going to recite them from memory. But basically, at this point, marriage has declined precipitously, say that 3 times fast, over the last few decades, right? So it used to be the majority of people were married over the age of 18. It was somewhere around, I think it was 72% was the one I saw back in the 70s. And now it's like dropping into the low 40s, right? Many people will quote the thing that came out that said most women, when I say most, over 50%, will be single starting by 2030. So, you know, it's always been adult women and adult men where generally the majority of them were married. Now it's really dropping. And, you know, I always see guys say, well, more women are going to be, it's going to be guys too, right? If women aren't getting married, neither are the guys. But again, I don't know if that's really a good thing. As I said earlier, I recognize that marriage is basically finished. That's my opinion, right or wrong. All right, I don't see the benefit to it, especially for guys right now. Again, my content is for men. All right, I gear my stuff towards men, but I also recognize that women have the same feelings in many cases that men do. One of the things I often say is we are more alike than we are unalike, right? And we need to start recognizing that. Both sides. I think that we've lost that. You know, it's kind of like politics too. I don't want to get into politics here, but you see, you know, there's one side, there's the other, and they're black and white, and there's no meeting in the middle gray area. None. You either believe what you believe, and you're on that side, or the other side thinks you're evil. Kind of falling that way in relationships now. You see it all the time, especially more so on TikTok than anywhere else. But I see it on Instagram. I see it on YouTube. I see it on Twitter. It's universal. It's all of them. But for whatever reason, I see more of it on TikTok. Probably because that's where I gear a lot of my stuff to. But it's just interesting to see how things are changing, right? And how both sides, men and women, are walking away from marriage. Um, so Timothy, you stole my question. What is the biggest cause of failed marriage? My question was going to be, what do you think is the biggest reason why? And I already know what the guys are going to say, but what is the biggest reason people aren't getting married was going to be my question. But that's another one too, right? What is the reason that people are not staying married? And I know what the experts say. We all know 80% of marriages or divorces, are filed by women. We all know that. That's proven. That's settled data, if you will. Ted, that's a good question. No person is completed by another. Or good comment. I like that. Instant gratification's another one. Ted's over on YouTube. He's got a lot of good stuff there. I think to answer Timothy's question, what's the biggest cause of failed marriage? Lack of effort on both parties. And so that's 1A, and they're this close, is lack of understanding. And what do I mean by that? I mean by lack of understanding of the other person, right? Lack of communication, if you want to put it that way, those type of things. There's no give and take anymore. Everybody wants what they want. They don't care what the other person needs. And it ultimately creates issues. Now, back in the day, before no-fault divorce and all that, when it was very tough to get divorced, you had a couple choices. And I've talked to people that, were married in the 40s and 30s, and there were people in my family, I had these conversations back in the day, and they were like, sometimes it was horrible, and you had no choice but to stick it out. Well, legally, you couldn't get divorced, right? You had to have valid reasons, and there were only a few of them. Adultery was one, abuse was one, but you were stuck. So you either worked it out, found a way to compromise, or sometimes they just lived in separate parts of the house. That's what they did. They had no choice in the matter. No-fault divorce came along, and now it's the exact opposite. You don't stay together. You don't make any effort to stay together. It needs to be somewhere in the middle. You don't want to lock people into a prison of marriage, but the other side of it is you don't want to make it so easy that people are just walking away. Commitment is gone. That's my take on it. Mr. Bubbles, if we can go back to traditional values, then it can work. I would say that across all of society, not just marriage. I think you're right. We need to have, and you can have some give and take on what you consider traditional values, but at least I know I'm not talking, women stay home and all the time and men go work. It should be whatever works for each couple, but that's my take on it. Daniel said, here in Switzerland, people don't get married anymore. They move in together and get kids. So that is one of the things I was going to talk about as far as the research I did. Non-married couples cohabitating is now somewhere around 40% of all couples together, right? So you're seeing that more and more. That number has grown exponentially. And they're saying, some of the research I was reading, that's going to be the new norm. My opinion is, how is that any better? The thinking behind it is, if I don't get married, then she can't get my stuff, or he can't get my stuff. Yeah, he can. All right. There's already case law out there. I remember, go back to Lee Marvin. Some of you younger people are going, who the hell is that? He was a huge actor back in the 70s. He got hit with a palimony suit. He had a woman. He was taking care of her. They weren't married, but she got him for millions. Lee for free. The question really is, why don't people divorce? Can you expand on that? I'm curious to know what you're going with on that. ATX Patriot, right now it's cheaper to keep her, but only to a point as far as mental sanity. That's the question you got to ask yourself. Ted mentioned, I was going to mention no-fault divorce as the primary cause. That's what triggered, that is without question. When the 70s and early 80s, when no-fault divorce was put in, I used to live in New York. New York was the last state of all states, was the last one to get or to implement no fault divorce. It was 29, 10, somewhere in there when they actually put it in and codified it into law. Um, so, all right, Can said, I think there's tons of reasons why people don't marry anymore. I want to hear more about what you think it is. Why aren't they marrying? Um, I think we all know the one, it's just not safe from the legal perspective. But I also want to know from the societal perspective. If, let's say, the divorce laws were perfect, they're never going to be, but you know what I mean. I still don't think people would be getting married. And that's my opinion. I'm curious to see what you got to say on that. Leave for free. We have to study those that stay together, not those that divorce. I've actually talked to many of them. Not that I did a study. Almost universally, the reason their marriages have succeeded is they talk to one another. That they'll all say that in some way. All right. They may put the words differently, but that's what it is. They talk to one another. And then, like I said earlier, the other thing is they care about what the other person's needs are, feelings, and all that. Um, and well, all right. So some of you jumped in. Daniel said social media is pushing things, communication's key, that kind of stuff. Yeah, more. Think about this. Sorry, I got to take a quick drink. What do most people do at home now, right? I remember even 15 years ago when my kids were young, when cell phones, when you were texting, on the little flip phones, heads in the phone. You're not talking to one another. When was the last time, think about it, that family sat down and had dinner together? They may once in a while. Nowadays, those days are gone. When my kids were younger, my ex-wife and I, and we had 6 kids between us, every Sunday we had a family dinner. We might not get to it during the week because I had kids playing football. My daughter was in softball. We had all sorts of things. We were constantly on the move. But we made sure every single Sunday we had Sunday dinner together. And my kids, even now, my one daughter is 35 this year, said she still remembers that and she tries to implement the same thing. Even if you just get that one day, it's something. It also helps the marriage because then you're communicating, right? Some other social media is pushing perfection in the lives. I think Daniel, that's a really, really observant thing to say because I agree with you. And you see it more from my take, for what it's worth. It's more from the women's side. They expect that perfect guy. I joke about the 6s all the time. I've done videos on the 6s. It's not really a joke though. They want that Disney prince, that perfect guy. They're out there. And I did some math way back when. If you go back, I think it was in February, I did a video on it. And it comes out to, in the United States, where there's 330 odd million people, less than 10,000 men would fit the 6's criteria. All of them. So, there's 150 million women trying to get 10,000 men. And if they find a man and he doesn't hit that, they think they're going to go get one of those 10,000. They're not. It's just not realistic. And guys do the same thing, all right? ATX, most men feel stuck for financial reason. It's the number one reason why men don't file. I can tell you right now for a fact. Mr. Bubbles, I'm just calling you Bubbles. I love that name because it reminds me of my youth. Let me just look through some of these things. Someone once said most marriages are bankrupt because too many withdrawals are made. There's a great analogy. I love that one. Thank you for sharing that. It's funny. I talk about that with some of the guys that I coach. So I do men's coaching, for those of you that don't know. No, it's not free. Okay. I don't advertise it on here, but I do men's coaching. Primarily focused on guys going through divorces. That's where I do. I'm not a lawyer, but I help them through the process. I've done this for years now. Talking with them. And then they want to get reacclimated. They get through their divorce. They want to get reacclimated and start dating and all that. One of the things that I often say to them is, for everything you expect, try and give 2 or 3 things more. Whatever they might be. Everybody's different, right? So if you want, dinner on the table, okay, well, you make breakfast and lunch. That would be an example. very simplistic one, but you get my idea with it, right? Give more than you want back. Where I see the issue right now, and yes, I'm generalizing, women have completely lost that, in my opinion. They want everything and give nothing. In general, there are exceptions, of course, and there are guys that want everything and give nothing. Absolutely, no doubt. But very good point there, Mr. Bubbles. Angel Warrior, it was done by design to destroy the family, you destroy connection. Absolutely, 100% agree with you. This is planned. It was planned in the 60s. They started with black families. And you can go research it. Lyndon Johnson, look it up. That's all I'm going to say on it. I'm somewhat of an expert on this because I've talked about it. I do political radio. I've talked about this many times. I've had numerous guests on who are experts on this stuff and talked about how it was planned to destroy the family unit. And they started with black families. You can't say that it's not true because I don't know the exact numbers anymore, but last I knew, over 80% of black families are single mother and kids, no dad, right? And I'm not faulting the dads. I'm not faulting the mothers. I'm just simply stating a fact there. And now it's translating to all the other races. Anybody know the one race? I hate to get into it like this because it sounds so bad, especially an old white guy talking about it. There is one group that pretty much stays together, though. Anybody want to guess what that one is? Spanish boy, I'm single and thinking of staying that way. At this point, I would say exactly. ATX commitment is a two-way street. Exactly my point I made earlier. Wonton Bob 4. I want some fried wonton. Sorry. I feel stuck for financial reasons, but pulled off the Band-Aid. That's something that I talk about with guys that I coach. You know, they're like thinking about it. Like, you know, I'm not happy. I know she's not happy. I'm stuck because the other one they'll use is the kids. The other one is financial. I can't answer for anyone whether you should do it or not. That's, you know, I try and help them come to a decision. But the reality is it's unique to you. I was someone who stuck it out my second marriage for many years. I was not happy. She was not happy. We didn't fight or anything. We just didn't do anything together. We were two entirely separate people. We stuck together for our daughter for a long time, but she was 14. We were both looked at each other one day and went, what are we doing? You know, so we kind of made it happen. And that divorce was very easy, by the way. She's a great person. You'll never hear me say a negative thing about my second wife. Ever. I have nothing but positive things to say about her. It just, we were not compatible. Let me look at some other ones. Mr. Bow, a lot of cases of common law. That's another one. RP John, no fault divorce wouldn't have been such a problem if they'd adjusted the laws at the same time. Well, they did adjust the laws at the same time, John. They made it so it incentivized women to file for no fault divorce. Go look up the 1975 child support thing. In fact, I'm going to be doing a podcast in the very near future. I've got the data compiled, and I'm kind of putting it in bullet points because I like to I don't work off of scripts, as you can probably tell. But I like to have bullet points, and I'm going to be doing a podcast talking about the history of child support. And it kind of dovetails in with divorce at the same time and how those laws have absolutely incentivized the destruction of the family. I'll kind of go with that whole scenario the scenario we were just talking about. Most seen says over on YouTube, women today want something that no longer exists in the real world as TV effect. I call it the Disney effect, same thing. Yes, I agree with you. It's all about the money. Blinds tend to, I don't read numbers, so it is about the money. They've incentivized the separation of families. Once on Bob, women are ultra picky, and most they see on dating sites are meh. You know, it's interesting. Again, I've done some of the research on that. I know other people have talked about it, but it's like it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 9-1. For every 9 swipes a woman gets, she'll swipe on one guy. It's some, I don't know the exact number, but it tells you, right, the difference in good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just making the observation. I'm not saying one's right or the other is. Um, but yeah. So Can's mentioned religion is another one. Marriage is a religious right. Some don't feel it's necessary. Very good point. I do think that's a valid point because that's what it was for millennia. And religion is dying. I'm not a religious person. I'll be the first to tell you that. I was raised Lutheran, Protestant, was an altar boy up until about 14, and actually enjoyed that. But then my church switched pastors, and the guy that came in was just horrible. And it really turned me off religion, all religion. I'm not into it. But I've studied it, understand all the religions. I'm not anti-religion, but it's not something I'm going to ever do. I haven't set foot in a church other than to go to somebody's wedding in 40 whatever years. So, but yes, religion was a key point. That's disappearing. Religion is rapidly declining. Good, bad, or indifferent. Again, I'm not giving opinions. I'm just stating facts. Florin said, divorce is okay, but in America, the divorce is far from being fair play. That's correct. Very, very good points there. Marty, I tried the Sunday dinner thing. Kids told me no. We talk all the time, so that's good. I'm laughing because my kids were the opposite. So they wanted that dinner, even when they were younger. Now, keep in mind, my youngest right now is 27. So this was pre-TikTok and all that stuff. Facebook didn't even exist for the most part at that point. MySpace didn't exist. There you go. I just dated myself. I still have my MySpace account, and I still log into it. I have old band music on there, so I will forever have that account because that's where we kept it all. Got a few songs up there and all that. But yeah, it's one of the things that I would advise people, all people, is establish it early with your kids that you're going to have certain things. Sunday dinner was my example, right? And then stick to it. You got to stick to it so that it becomes routine and it becomes something they want as much. And you'll be amazed. Then you won't have that resistance. Steve Cross, my girlfriend always greets me at the front door and makes me coffee and brekkie. I'm guessing you're British because that's, I think, what they call it most mornings. Awesome. What do you do for her? Just curious, seriously. And I'm not saying that to be snarky in any way. Just reading through some of the real dude. How do you communicate with someone who thinks they have all the answers? You mean women? Oh, did I say that out loud? Ooh, I'm going to get in trouble for that one. I'm joking, all right? Don't go reporting me to TikTok and YouTube and all the other places. Good Lord, we have lost our sense of humor, have we? Haven't we? I did a video earlier today and posted it on the various social medias that is catching me some hell, and I don't care because I even put fake hair on me with the video. Go check it out. But to answer your question, how do you communicate with somebody who thinks they have all the answers? The answer is you can't, because they're not willing to communicate with you. Now, you have to find, I am not a mental expert, I'm not a therapist or any of that. You have to find a way to get them to acknowledge you somehow. Things that I've suggested to people, things that I've done, is if you try and have a talk with someone and it's going nowhere repeatedly, once in a while, who cares? But if it's a repeated thing that you see over and over again, try writing them a letter. And I don't mean a text. I don't mean even typing it. Handwritten letter. It makes a difference when they read that. It does. And there's psychological studies. It's the same thing I tell people when you're lobbying for things like shared parenting or child support reform or anything. If you handwrite a letter and send it to a politician at whatever level, they value that letter the equivalent of something like 10,000 emails, just to give you perspective, because you took the time to write it. It will have much more meaning if you handwrite it. You could do bullet points, something like that. That would be the first thing I would suggest to you. Some people have luck with video, making a video. Now, again, you got to watch your tone and, no snark or any of that, but let's say you're having an issue about, hey, you expect me to do the dishes all the time, and I don't mind doing them most of the time, but Fridays I work 15-hour days. Could you help me out by covering them? As opposed to, Jesus Christ, I work every Friday till 9 o'clock. Why the hell can't you do the dishes? You see the difference? Believe it or not, it matters, and that goes both ways. Things like that. That's how you can. I'm not saying you're going to succeed. Communicate with someone who thinks they have all the answers. Again, they've got to be willing to open up. Checking over my YouTube friends, guys over on YouTube. Feel free to chime in here. Get bored? Check out the movie Divorce Corp. Really good. Check out the trailer on YouTube. Somebody else mentioned that to me. I'll have to go look at it. Dark Lord, yes, Asians. And Liberty and Steve Cross, Asians. Asians by far are the ones to get married and stay married. Hispanics, though, ATX, you're not that far behind. They're different cultures, right? It's different cultures. But Asians by far, and then Hispanics next. But again, you're starting to see inroads even on that, on separating them. Nowhere near like it is for white, black, Indian, and all those. Indian couples tend to stay together too. But yeah, it's interesting. It's cultural, even within the United States, right? I'm in the U.S. I can't speak for other countries, but the little bit I do know, I think that kind of falls into play even in like Europe and all them. My peeps over in Europe, let me know if that's true. Do you think that Asians and Hispanics tend to stay together more in your areas? I don't know how many are there. Tony Smith, divorced after 22 years. Last Thursday and Saturday, she invited me and her kids for lunch and dinner. Me and her kids. So they're not your kids with her. Like stepkids. That's funny. If I can kind of just play off that for a second, that's the way. I'm hoping this is a positive thing. I'm going to take that as a positive because she invited you and the kids. When you have those moments, even now, if she's trying to get back together, I don't know. I can't speak to that. I can't tell you that's a good or a bad thing. But I'm just saying in general, if two divorced people can say to themselves, hey, let's go have dinner together. Let's go out to eat. You come over here, whatever. The positive effect that has on the children is mammoth. All right. One of the biggest issues my daughter has, so I have a daughter, like I said, she's 35. When she got married 11 years ago, her biggest problem, issue, whatever you want to call it, is that her mother did not want me in the divorce or in the wedding ceremony because of our divorce, right? It was hell on earth. She hates me that much. She would not take a picture with me, her, and my daughter and son-in-law. Would not do it. She could have been on one side. Well, it would have been her on one side, me on the other, and the two kids in the middle. Would not do it. It bothers my daughter to this day. So when you have something like a dinner or something like that, and I will say to anyone watching this, if you are in that position, don't be that a-hole that refuses to do that stuff. When your child's graduating from school, take the damn picture with your ex. Do it. And the kid. It matters. It makes a huge difference. It's 5 seconds out of your life. It has absolutely no effect on you to do it. I don't care how much you hate the other person. Man up, woman up, whatever you want to call it. Suck it up. Take the damn picture. Because it bothers my daughter to this day that she does not have that picture. But yet my son-in-law has his mom and dad in a picture with him. It matters. So good for you, Tony. I'm taking that as a positive. Timothy said, what about men or women addicted to needing validation? I would put all of society with that. Social media is driving that. I agree with you there. We've become addicted to that dopamine hit. And it's one of the reasons why I said earlier, way back in the beginning, for those of you that weren't on that, I am going to be taking July 4th week. I'm going to disappear on you guys, right? There's going to be no live that week. I won't be doing a podcast that week. I literally go off the grid for a week. And it's to break any addiction I have to, oh, I got 10,000 likes or whatever on a video. I'm not really that affected by it, but I'd be lying to say I don't have some effect on it. I do look at it, right? And yeah, it feels good to get a good positive response to a video you do. I'm one of those weirdos. I like the negative ones too. So, but it's good to step away with that validation that we are addicted to. That's a great point that Timothy's making. We need to stop seeking validation in others too. I would add to it. We need to get validation from ourselves. If you do something, you should feel good about it. Celebrate it. Who gives a crap what anybody else thinks? There's my trainer stuff. Who is considered the founder of no-fault divorce? Believe it or not, one of the biggest proponents of it was Ronald Reagan. And I love Ronald Reagan because he was probably the last good politician I liked. And I just lost a bunch of people I know. But yes, he was a Republican, but he was a Democrat before that. He was more libertarian than probably anybody, believe it or not. But he had a big part of no-fault divorce getting put in, even though it was kind of behind the scenes. CJ, my only issue is both men and women went to school, but men are still expected to provide. I did a video on that not too long ago, that 1950s mentality. Women still have that. Men are supposed to provide and protect, but they're also supposed to let women do whatever they want. It should go both ways. ATX, catfishing happens on both sides. Absolutely, it does. And again, I know I'm missing some here and there. And those of you that are giving me the hearts and stuff, thank you again. I do appreciate them. RP John, my ex told me she would destroy me if I didn't toe the line, do everything she expected with zero regard for my needs. That's called domestic abuse, John. You were a victim of domestic violence. I don't know if you know that, but you were. That's a threat. That's domestic violence. All right. I don't take that stuff lightly, and I do educate people with that. Cans, MySpace. What about? Okay, dude. You wanted me to really date myself? I will really date myself. My first modem was 2400 baud. The first hard drives that I used to work at the college were this big around. All right, platters that held 2 megabytes, if that. I remember when 2 megabytes of RAM was rocking, baby. 386 processors. I go back to the 70s and 80s. So I go back before there was an internet. My first laptop, there was no internet. So, Steve, Aussie mate. Good day, mate. Right? I think you've done that one to me, right? Dave Cans, you must be right about 50. Yeah, ATX. Well, I'm 60. I was trying to make my ICQ number. I don't remember, but I had that too. Hey, Analogy, nice to see you. Logical, you're on here? I missed you. I'm sorry. He comes on every week. I just funny how this is morphing. And there's my buddy from Greece. God, I love all these different countries. So a couple people are commenting about Europe and the Eastern Union. They tend to stay together more. I think we're talking about the Asians and Hispanics. I asked that earlier. RP John said they tend to get because of culture. It is. I don't know that I would agree that it's patriarchal. I think it's just their culture. I hate using things like patriarchy with that stuff. I do. Because I think both sides wanted it in those particular instances. It's not because patriarchy means it's men forcing it. All right? That's what it's become to mean. That's not the case. If anything, it's the opposite, I think, especially with Hispanics. I have friends who are married to Latinas. Don't call them Latinx. Oh, God. I watched one of them go off not too long ago. I was like, oh, my God. So we were hanging out, and this person came over, and there was a conversation going on, and he used Latinx, I think is what he said, and she went off. Oh, man. Anyway. Side note there. It was fun to watch, though. But yeah, I have friends who are married to Latinas, and they will tell you universally, though they run the roost, and not the guys, the girls do, the women do. And I say that in a good way. I don't mean anything negative by it. Um, Dad, I don't think I'd ever get married again. I'm done having kids. Marriages for suckers. That's the way most people are doing. So if you're just coming on, we're asking the question, do you think marriage is finished? And also, if you would, chime in with why. What's your why? I am going to go back and track this later on, just as my own curiosity. John Pedro, marriage is too expensive to get involved with. Yeah, it is. That said, shacking up, living together and all that can be just as bad. Um, just kind of, okay, we're back to the computer stuff. Cans, I downloaded Windows on a 36K modem. I remember, was it 1995, the first Mars rovers? I had an AOL account with, you do your dial up, you might get in at 16K, and they were putting pictures of Mars out on the internet, and it would take a week to get that picture. But a beautiful picture. RP John, my first computer, I spent the extra $1,000 to get the extra big 49 meg hard drive. Yep. I remember in business buying, if I remember right, it was an 8 meg RAM and paying something like $2,000 for it, for a computer. Oh, Sam, I'm just gonna let that one go. Hey, my IT people, you ever use the term it's an ID10T error? I'll wait. See if anybody's ever used that term when helping somebody, let me know. Once upon a time, phone lines were wired, people were free. Now it's almost vice versa. Very good point. I agree. Okay. So John, or 36, European Hispanics are getting divorced at the same rate as Northern Europeans. So, okay. That's why I asked. Because I'm curious on that. Again, I don't have any knowledge on it. And that's one of the beauties, I think, of having these lives, guys, on both YouTube and elsewhere, because and TikTok and all that, because we're hearing from all different cultures, and this is the beauty of social media, right? We get to hear what others think, what they're experiencing, what they're going through. And the takeaway I almost always get from it is we're all the same. You've got people, Tom, from Europe. We've got people from Australia here. We've got Ireland, Greece, all that. But we're all saying the same things, if you notice. And I find that awesome. I really do. Imagine if social media was more focused on what we can do, the positivity, as opposed to dwelling in the negative. And I know that I bring up negative stuff on my accounts, but imagine what we could do. James W84, Latinas are the best wives. I have yet to meet a guy that I know that's married to a Latina that doesn't say exactly that. Just saying. I was hoping to forget AOL. I still have an AOL disk somewhere. I kept all that stuff. Yeah, I was in IT back in the day. So, hey, Snowy. It's just funny how, for those of you that didn't do IT as a career like I did for many years, I have all those old softwares. I do. I still have my Windows NT disks. I still have the original DOS 3.1 disks. I still have, or floppies actually. I still have floppy disks. I still have a computer. It's in storage that has a 5 1/4 floppy disk, just in case. Miss Aluba, you're from New Zealand. See, now we got somebody from New Zealand. This is freaking awesome. I love it. If you're jumping on, let me know where you're from. And hey, answer the question. Do you think marriage is finished? The consensus so far is yes. In fact, I haven't seen anybody yet, I'm looking at both things, say that it isn't. I took custody of my son in 96, became a computer nerd in 97. Well, I got you by a few years. I became a computer nerd in 79. What is your opinion on the Facebook groups? Are we dating the same guy where men can't rebuttal? Lucifer said that. Were you the one that reached out to me on that also? There was somebody else sent me a message on that. I got to do some more research, if I'm being honest with you, about that. I don't know much about the existence of those groups. I do know about on Quora and what's the other one? Reddit, the feminist groups where they target people like me. Um, oh, Massine from Morocco. Oh, I'm loving this. Nice to see you or talk with you, Massine. Hope I'm saying your name right. Um, my opinion on the groups of all those groups, where they're sharing information, if you will. I could see both sides of it, to be honest with you. There could be some positive there. We all know it's not positive, it's negative. But I think it's a bad thing. In general, I could see where, it could be positive. You got somebody who's bad and you want to kind of warn. That's fair. I think that's fair. But the problem is it would take, an average guy you meet, oh, he's horrible. And sometimes you would go out on I've been on dates where I knew in the first 5 minutes, oh, this ain't going to work, right? Way back when. This is not going to work. Doesn't mean that the person was bad. There was nothing wrong with the woman. We just were not going to be compatible. So in a group like that, if I were to go back and go, Jane Doe was this, and just rattle off a bunch of stuff about her that's negative, that's not fair to her. And that's what happens, I think, in those groups. That's my take. I've never been in one. Thank you, Mosine. I have infiltrated the feminist groups on Quora and Reddit. I have an account that I do that with. Oh, let me tell you. More to come on that, by the way. Shunder Bandy from Canada, Transient from UK. Guys, I am loving it. Look, we literally have pretty much every part of the world covered here, right? Love to get somebody from Japan, China. Oh, probably not going to get a Chinese person, but I would love it. I just don't think their government would allow it. You must be older than I thought. I will be 60 in a couple of weeks, Cans. Yes, I'm that old. John, our cohabitation is also finished. I agree with you. I think that's starting to decline. There is no benefit anymore. I'm trying to stay out of that part of this, right? The benefits or negatives to marriage and all that stuff, because I don't want this to become about that. I just want to keep it on, as marriage. Maybe we'll talk about that next week. What is the benefit? Why would men get married at this point? Why would women get married at this point? That's a great topic. I just don't want to go there today, if that's okay. Sam Barrett, Kentucky. Pennsyltucky, my ex-wife used to call it. I don't know why. And I have a wonderful relationship with my wife. And there, I like that. We're not plugged in. So, yeah. Mr. Plow, marriage might be okay with women who's not from North America. The only thing, guys, I see these passport type things all the time. You got people on here from other parts of the world, many others, Europe, Australia, and all them. Ask them. Just saying. Is it much different? It's really not. Just people have asked me before my take on passport bros. I am neutral. I see the positive. I see the negative. And I always use the two examples. I've talked about it many times, and I know I'm repeating myself here, but I have a good friend. His name was Jeff. I have not spoken to Jeff in 10 years now because he disappeared. Jeff married a woman from Russia, brought her over. They had a daughter. Roughly 2 years later, she said, I'm just going to bring, I forget her daughter's name, back to meet my family in Russia. He's never seen his daughter since. That was 20 odd years ago. Horrible what that man went through. Horrible. There was nothing that could be done. The State Department did try and help. Got nowhere. I have another friend. His name is Sean. He married a girl from the Philippines, and probably the best marriage I've ever seen. Positives, minuses. That's why I'm neutral on it. Marriage is not finished. Women's vanity is sometimes uncontrollable. True. Queensland. I love these. I love it. See, again, I just get fascinated by that. It's kind of bringing me back. We were talking about, early computer days. That's what it used to be like back then. The ICQs and all that. You'd have people from all over the world. Even AOL, Instant Messenger. Remember those in the groups? I was actually a moderator for AOL for a while, because then you got your account for free. And I used to sit in the chat rooms, and it was mind-numbingly boring for the most part. But hey, I did it. Angel Warrior, who do you consider the founder of the hate and destroy all men era of feminism? Ooh, good question. I don't know that there's any single founder that I would pick out. So, in fact, I just did a video on this the other day where, for those of you that haven't seen my videos, why? Go check them out, okay? But I did a video. I was talking with a friend of mine recently who's a feminist, a 70s era feminist, all right? She's about my age, a little bit younger, but not much. And she had started seeing some of my videos because I was sharing them with her. We're actually good friends. We don't agree on some things. Politically, we don't agree, but we get along great. We're what it should be, right? We can have these discussions. We walk away going, we agree to disagree on some things and stuff like that. But we both agree that 70s era feminism was generally a good thing, right? It started morphing late 70s and early 80s. I say it, she was saying it. She is appalled at where feminism is now. Yeah. When I did my video, I was paraphrasing what she was saying, and I was cleaning it up, first of all, because she does swear. But also, I was trying to take as much of the venom out. She went off about it. What she was saying, I was like, holy crap, right? She got really, really upset about it. I mean, she was going beet red with it because it changed. She said they stole what we were working for. And now her whole thing, and this is what I found the most interesting about the whole thing. The big takeaway she had, and again, I'm paraphrasing here, was we fought so hard in the 70s and early 80s to be seen as equals, to be seen as people, human beings, not sex objects. She said it's the exact opposite now. She said everything that current feminism is doing is turning women back into being seen only as sex objects. Her words, not mine. I had never really thought about it that way. But you talk about it and you see it online, right? She's got a point. So to answer your question, Angel Warrior, I can't name any one person. Some my age would probably argue maybe the Gloria Steinems, Gloria Alfreds, whatever her name was, were that. I'm no fan of Gloria Steinem, don't get me wrong, but I don't think she was necessarily hating men, per se. A little bit, but I don't know that there's any one person. I would think it was more the movement as a whole, much like you see now, where you can take something, put it online, it's completely false. You get enough people liking it, say something enough times that's false, it becomes the truth. And that's what's happened. I think that's kind of what happened with that. So I wouldn't personally name any one person. I'm sure others might do that. I'm an unsung. All right, thanks, Sam. Canada, Sweden, woo, loving it. Jamaica, yeah, man. Love Jamaica. In fact, I've thought about moving to Jamaica. Love it there. Been there 5-6 times. Quick side story on Jamaica. So the first time I went there, was on a cruise, and you'd take one of those little. We didn't go to Ocho Rios. I forget where we pulled into, but anyway, we're doing one of these like catamaran cruises type things. The rum was flowing and all that, and the guide is doing the whole Jamaican accent, like Yaman and all that, like Bob Marley to a T. We get off the boat, and he's trucking down the dock, and I was putzing around, but I started coming down, and I hear him talking to someone else, and he's talking just like I am. And it was just fun. You had to be there, I guess, but it was funny as hell that whole accent just disappeared. He was doing it all as a thing. But Jamaica's beautiful. I love Ocho Rios. Love it. Flint, Michigan. Gonna try the ring thing. Try it. So where's the one I used as the prop? I don't do that, by the way, but back in the day, I used to wear a wedding ring. Mine was gold. I went to Walmart and bought these just to use them as a prop. But you put one of these on, especially, now mind you, I own a gym, but in gyms, I used to get approached all the time. I am no Brad Pitt. I don't think I'm, hideous looking, but I ain't no Brad Pitt, all right? I can't tell you the number of times that I was hit on wearing a wedding ring. It absolutely is true. Give it a try. What the heck, right? Now, let me be clear here. I don't advocate cheating, all right? And I'm just going to say this little side note I left out of my video. Do you really want to be involved with women that would do that? Just saying. Mr. Plow, wouldn't consider a woman from Europe or Australia. That was kind of my point I was making earlier. Just check my YouTube peeps. Guys over on YouTube, if you got anything you want to add, please do. Vehicle City Nate. See, I'm looking for a lady who isn't trying to come here. At this point, I'm looking to go elsewhere. Like move out of the States, I'm guessing. I know that's a new thing. A lot of people are doing that. I can't disagree with you there. Like I said, Jamaica, man. Yeah, man. All right. I'm horrible with accents. Bro, what's your take on the red pill community? I'm gonna duck your question because I'm gonna be talking about that in the very near future. So can I just take a pass right now? And I will answer it, but it's positive, right? Let's leave it at that. So yes, I will answer that, but not right now because I don't want to ruin the surprise. Eduardo, my content's amazing. Thank you. I do appreciate it. Brie Larson, no comment. I just watched a movie she was in. It was on Netflix, and I didn't realize it was her the way they had her done. The red. By the way, for those of you that have never seen the movie, I forget the term, but the red pill or whatever, go check that out. I saw it years ago. The woman that did it, it was very interesting. And try and watch it with. Don't look at it as a man or a woman. Look at it with neutrality and see what she has to say. The journey is the real story, not the specifics. The journey and how she got her eyes opened. Cans, there are some women that definitely get it and are wise to BS. Yes, there are. Now, I disagree with you there. You say it's rare. I actually think they're more common. They're just too quiet. That's my take. There's plenty of great women out there. Plenty of them. They're not much different than us guys, right? They live in fear of what these feminists do, male and female feminists. They just are stepping away just like we are. Again, good, bad, or indifferent. That's why one of the reasons I think marriage is being done. Gloria Steinem was an evil B.I. Yeah, she was, but I also don't blame her, my opinion, for the reason feminism turned the way it is. Just, not her specifically. Does she have part of it? Absolutely. Elroy Vandermeer, evening. Yes, it is evening here. It's 5 o'clock where I am. Feminism was designed to destroy society from day one. Don't know that I totally agree with you there, Mr. Plow. I think original feminism. Now, keep in mind, that goes back to getting women the right to vote. Wholeheartedly support that. Much of the early 70s feminism, there was some really valid points. There's some things I disagreed with, but in general, I think it was positive. And I don't think it was designed to destroy society. It quickly morphed into that. That's just my take. You may disagree, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Yep, women have managed to benefit from everything. Consider who funded the feminist movement. Watch the interview with, well, I would argue the U.S. government funded it. For those of you in the U.S., they still do. It's called the domestic violence system. That whole system is designed to support feminism. I hate to break it to you. I could do, and I should do, an entire podcast on that. My friend Michelle, Reclaiming Your Voice, has talked about it a little bit. But there's funds funneled into there that are specifically designed to help feminism. Just leave it at that. Wayne, I've seen a lot of your videos and they make me see sense in life. Thank you. That's one of the reasons I do what I do. Sorry, I'm going to sit back if that's okay. Look, a lot of people think that I'm anti-woman, anti-marriage in context with this. I'm not. What I am is educating, right? I am, like I said, I'm almost 60 years old. I'm not going to date. I'm not, all that crap's behind me. I don't have to deal with family court anymore or any of that stuff. My job is to educate. And when I educate, my viewpoint is to give you information. What you do with it is up to you. The problem, as I see it, guilty as charged, by the way, when I say this, is men have their blinders on in life, specifically with things like marriage. We don't know how dangerous it is for us. We don't know the level of destruction we could face. That's our fault. I don't blame women for that. I blame us because we go into these relationships. I kind of postulated not too long ago that men are far more romantic than women. The ladies got all upset at me when I said that, but they are. They like marriage. Now, the women were like, well, that's because they want someone to take care of them and their babies and all that. Bull. Men want to be married because they want a partner. They want an equal. They don't want a servant, okay? And men, I think, in general, still believe in that. They still want that. Women want it. I don't think as much as guys, just again, my opinion here. But they want it differently. They want that perfect guy. Whereas men are looking for that woman that just gives them peace. That's what it is. That's what men want. I don't care about anything else. I'm telling you right now, I've talked to hundreds of thousands of guys over the years. Peace is it. And if a woman brings him that, the rest of it, it's not that big a deal to him. All right. So Wayne, my thank you to you, because that kind of gives me the impetus to keep going, because I want people to just have the information and do with it what you will. Like I said, I'm not anti-marriage, but I don't want people getting married not realizing that you got a 50-50 chance at best that marriage is going to survive. Average marriage now lasts 8 years. That's it. 8 years. Yes, there's some that go longer. There's some that go shorter, but 8 years. Think about this. I got first marriage for me was at 22. By third, that divorce was 33. 8 years would have been 22, 30, and I lose everything. For me, it was at 33. Then I started over again. Did the same thing. Second marriage, I did not lose everything. We had a very good divorce, but you get my point, right? All I'm saying to guys is, if you're going to do a relationship, whatever type, marriage, go into it with your eyes wide open and with the information. By the way, it applies to women too. Feminism was designed to put more money in the upper echelon's pocket. One day, guys, I will share my radio show with you and have you guys. It's local on air, so it's not on the internet. But you'd be amazed what I cover on some of that. Daniel, sweet dreams, my friend. You're welcome for the stream. I hope you have a great night's sleep. Sean DeBar, marriage is not worth it anymore because women can't do wrong and men. Yeah, well, you've been watching my content, haven't you? Can you remember, Angel's asking, can you remember the video you ever did and what it was about? I need more information to answer you. I don't know how to answer that. Steve, my first marriage lasted 12 years. Yeah, my first one did too. And that one I'm glad ended when it did. But again, I went through hell afterward and had to rebuild and did. But yeah, so again, I got about 10 more minutes, give or take. If you're jumping in just now, we're asking the question, do you think marriage is finished? And why? What do you think? Why do you think that it is finished? Or why do you think it's not? Because it's almost been universal that people think it's finished, which is interesting to me. I'm going to go back and tabulate all these. To those of you that sent me the hearts and that can Snowy and all that, thank you. I appreciate them. My take is marriage is finished. I think relationships are finished. I really do. Can I remember the first video I ever did and what it was about? Okay, that one I can... it would depend. The first videos I ever did were with my band back in the early 2000s. So that goes back to my MySpace days and all that. First video for like TikTok was in 2020. It was during the pandemic, late 2020, I believe. Instagram, I got on afterward. Instagram was last fall. I got on Instagram because I was having so many problems with TikTok. I was going to walk away. But I've done videos. So, for those that don't know, I've done TV in the past. No, I'm not a big star. I was local TV. I have done and do radio. Um, so, videos to me are, I go back decades. As far as social media ones, though, I did videos on Facebook when Facebook came out. Well, I got on Facebook in 2008, 9, somewhere in there. I did videos way back then on that. Um, I own a gym. I used to do fitness videos all the time. So, again, to answer your question, it was all over the place. For this particular thing, I did a TV show on men's issues. It was called the Family Forum back in from 2003 to 5, I think it was. That was on local TV. It was an hour-long show that we did. We used to tape it on Thursday nights. It ran on the weekends. We would bring in guests, much like I do with my podcast now. It was very similar to it. I had a co-host who happens a woman. Her name was Debbie. I've lost contact with her. Debbie, if you ever watch this, reach out to me because I would love to reconnect with you. Debbie was she a firebrand? But we would, talk about men's issues back then. This is 2003, 5. Guess what? I'm talking about the same freaking issues now. No different. But yeah, it's a great question. So hopefully that answers it for you. Hemi, born in the wrong generation, but damn, being single. Yeah, I hear you. Shonda Brandy, yes, it's finished. I think almost universally. I don't know that I've seen. I think I saw one that was positive and thought marriage was going to continue. Wayne, I'm 43. I love being on my own. Don't need a woman in my life to define who I am. I can't tell you how many guys say that, and I see it growing. So one of the things that you will often see on the women's videos is, we're walking away from marriage and doing all that. Tens of thousands of responses. Yep, me too, me too, me too. All valid, right? They don't see it, though, even when I point it out to them that the men are saying the same thing. They live in denial. No, they're not. Men aren't walking away. Yeah, they are. And it's getting way bigger. It's a tidal wave. I think we're only starting. I think men are going to bail completely. And again, I don't want to turn this into the benefits or not benefits of relationships, but I think men are waking up. It took decades for them to. I tried, but it took decades, and they are bailing. A couple other things people were saying. I got about 10 minutes, guys. Women want to have the baby, divorce, getting fit. Yeah, that's kind of what it is. Over on my YouTube friends. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Yes, most seen again. Big women spend the money, finance. What is my opinion? Let me kind of just give me a minute on that. It is a big red flag, right? So finances is one of the big issues that's out there on this stuff. One of the things that I was talking about not too long ago with one of the guys that I coach who is going through a divorce. And their divorce is strictly financial. It really is. When they get along great as far as a couple, right? He says it. Now, I've never talked with her, but I hear these things and I'm like, yeah, that's his side. What's her side? But I genuinely believe they get along great. But they've had a lot of financial issues. And some of it is her spending, to be honest with you. And he's a great guy. He's just a nice guy. I will, nothing negative at him, but he cannot or could not, I should say, put his foot down on the spending. And they're going to end up filing bankruptcy. I can tell you right now, it's coming. But it just kind of speaks to how, as good as they were, they're getting divorced strictly because of spending issues. And he's not. She's the primary spender. He's not innocent either, right? And that's almost always the case, what you see with that stuff. So, yeah, those are flags. Let me kind of go through some of the other comments here. Vehicle City Nate. that's a great point I hear often. You miss having and making memories with someone. That's the one negative. Guys do really well alone. Women don't get that. They really don't. There's this belief, and I see it all the time on the women's groups, that men cannot take care of themselves. They truly believe that. They think we can't cook, can't do laundry, can't clean a house. They literally believe we are incapable of doing that. And guys are, I mean, I laugh about it when I see it. I cook better than 90% of the women out there. I'm sure there's some 10% that are better than me, but I'm a pretty damn good cook. My house is immaculate. Right now, behind me, it's a mess. I consider that a mess behind me. Mostly because I got the one guitar out. But it's interesting that they have that mindset. Whereas men know I can do anything. I can cook. I can clean. I may not do it the way she does, but the house is clean. My house is immaculate, right? To my standards. And, men, I'm seeing more and more that men are realizing, yeah, there's no benefit to me that way, right? Again, I don't want to morph into that, but women need to understand that. And they better wake up because they think that, well, men, that's what men want. Men don't want that. What men want, I said it earlier, is peace. If you don't bring peace to a man, you're done. Forget it. There's no sense in being in a relationship with him because he's going to realize that and he's never going to be happy. Angel Warrior, what was the specific incident that caused you to start speaking out on the issues you do? My first divorce. Specifically, walking into family court the first time. And I was a victim of domestic violence, and I went through hell. But that's really where I got my eyes opened. And in fact, my upcoming book is about that, where I talk about what it was like for me to walk into family court and trying to educate. The whole purpose behind the book is to educate guys on the realities that they're going to face if they go through a divorce. RP John, the extent of my willingness to commit is an overnight bag. Amen, brother. It's more toxic and narcissist. Yeah, I can't say it today. Never mind. It's interesting seeing some of these comments. Men are seen as a cash cow. Yeah. It's funny because I've been, again, I on any given day, guys and girls, I get thousands of comments, messages, emails, right? I'm usually pretty good at get through all the emails, but one of the things I want to say to you all is if you message me, DM me, and I don't respond, my apologies. It's just, I'm overwhelmed. I literally thousands a day. There's no way I can answer them all. I wish I could. And it's just little old me, right? I don't have an assistant. I'm not one of them, celebrities or, big news guys or big YouTubers or big TikTokers that have staff. What you don't realize is some of those people with millions of followers on, say, YouTube or TikTok, they have staff that go through and read these messages. All right. I don't have that. That's why I apologize. I get through as many as I can, but I do appreciate the videos that people send to me. I try and respond as much as I can, but if I don't, please don't be offended by it. I try as best I can. I have, no joke, right now, somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,000 messages I haven't read. And I cleared them all out not too long ago. So I apologize for that. Jenny's on. Hey, Jenny. Vehicle City. I am a chef and made all she rarely ate anything besides tuna salad or I was a chef at a world famous restaurant. McDonald's, but I was a chef there. I actually have a degree from McDonald's. Yes, I started on my 16th birthday and became store manager at 22 and then left. Quick joke. But yeah, men can cook. I hate to break it to you, ladies. We can do just fine cooking. In fact, we can pretty damn good. I can't even say. Deg mostly sunny. Sorry, I'm not saying the whole thing right. Men solve things. We fix things. We find solutions. We do. And your point right there, the big solution now is to stay single. Men have realized for them, for the most part, that is the solution. And that's why marriage is finished. I really believe that, and I think many of you do too. That and I'll do a separate. Maybe we'll do that next week. We'll do the live on why, why men are done, why women are done, because it's eerily how they're pretty much the same. Again, I don't want to get into it because I've only got a couple more minutes here. Let me just finish with this, guys. I truly appreciate everybody coming on. A couple things that I do want to cover. Hey, go check out the merch store. Shameless plug on my part. I just cut a check to the Taylor House. So any of my merch that's sold, I give a portion of the proceeds to the Taylor House, which is one of the 2 domestic violence shelters for men in the United States. And a couple other things that people have asked me about that I did want to mention real quick here is, and I've kind of touched on it before, I do men's coaching. I don't talk about it here because I don't want to be that guy. If you're interested in it, send me an email, menneedtobeheard@gmail.com, and I'll talk to you about it. The merch you can go to on TikTok. You can go to my bio. Same on Instagram. They're in my bio. You'll see the link tree. Click on that. It's in there. On YouTube, it's in my bio there too. Also, it's just I don't use Linktree on YouTube. That's the easiest way to get to them. My website, menneedtobeheard.com, is just about done, and then I'll be launching that, and then I'll have a link to it there. It's actually live. It just looks like crap right now. I know how to web design. I hate it with every fiber of my being. So I have a bare bones one up. So you can go to menneedtobeheard.com. And there's a link there with a merch, and it'll take you right to it. But again, I donate part of that money. The guys over on Patreon, let me just give me a second here. I do have the Patreon. And one of the things I talked about a couple weeks ago is, my days on TikTok and Instagram especially are numbered. And it's not me that's going to leave. They're going to drive me out. They're going to ban me. It's coming. I know it is. I've already lost multiple accounts on TikTok, although I did get one back. But it was, it's just a matter of time before they ban me again. I was asking people not too long ago, where they thought I should go. I got a bunch of different answers. I am using some of them. But Patreon's going to be the ultimate, where I put my posts up. That the ones you're seeing on TikTok and on Instagram and YouTube and all them, do go to Patreon. There's also other stuff that goes there. And I do groups out of that. I have a men's group. We meet once a month. It is nowhere online that you'll find. It's a Zoom meeting. It is not recorded. There's no way anybody could ever trace it. I do that on purpose. It's because it's for a chance for us to speak openly, freely. I control who can get into it. And that way we can say whatever we want and not have to worry about it bouncing back on us. A couple other things. Let me just kind of scroll through things here. In my opinion, what is the biggest difference between older generation women and younger? Oh, I only got a minute. Tell you what, Sean DeBreer, come on next week and ask me that, because that's a 10-minute answer. And in general, there is so much I can't even begin to start it. It's not that I'm trying to duck it. Make sure you ask me next week. All right. Angel Warrior, what kept you going in the darkest times when you had to start from nothing? My kids. Simple answer on that one. And I am not one that will ever quit. I am insane that way. I am highly competitive. I'll talk about that at some point. All right, guys, I am going to wrap up on that. I truly, truly appreciate all of you for joining me on this. I appreciate the chiming in on whether you thought marriage was finished or not. Those of you that give me the gift things through the different chats, I appreciate that. Don't forget, I do podcasts. A podcast goes up every Sunday at 1. I have not recorded this week's yet. We'll be recording it shortly. Tomorrow. And that one's going to be interesting too. And a lot of stuff coming. I am starting to expand that podcast. I've got some people that are reaching out to me that are really experts on some things. And I really want to help you guys. Like I said earlier, my goal is to provide information. If there's topics you want me to cover, let me know. You can try DMing me. I might not see it. If there's something you really need to talk to me about, your best bet is email. menneedtobeheard@gmail.com. I do my best. That's my priority to read. And once I get done with that, then I'll start looking at some other stuff. And hey, thank you from the bottom of my heart for watching, and I'm glad y'all enjoy it, and I'll see you next time.